Hello everyone, this is Rima. On behalf of India Warehousing Show, I would like to welcome you all to the Great Leadership Series hosted by IWS. As we all know, IWS is India's leading platform for the warehousing, logistic, material handling, automation, and supply chain sector. Over the past 11 years, we brought together thousands of buyers and sellers from these segments to explore new businesses, learnings, and networking opportunities. This year, we look forward to see you all at IWS on 11th, 12th, and 13th July at Yashobhumi Dwarka. So today, we are honored to have with us Mr. Gurpreet Gill. He is a seasoned logistician and business strategy leader with career span of 20 years in the core logistic and technology sectors. He presently leads the manufacturing, travel, transportation, logistic, and hospitality sectors for UK and Ireland regions and was earlier leading the global logistic practice at Tech Mahindra. He is recognized thought leader on utilizing next generation technologies to solve business problems across supply chain and logistics sector. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Gurpreet Gill. We look forward to an engaging and insightful conversation. Welcome, Gurpreet.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So, Gurpreet, I think I would love to start with the topic which is always close to my heart, and obviously, industry would like to listen about artificial intelligence first. So, how do you see artificial intelligence impacting warehousing and logistic industry today?
Very interesting question to begin with, Rima. Thanks for asking that. And it's really, really close to my heart as well. See, to be honest, AI is bringing in and it will create further a huge amount of significant transformation in the logistics industry. It's an ongoing thing and it will continue, and we will see huge transformations over the next few years for further and further. If you see, AI is helping us to improve our material handling ways. It has also helped to improve our operations as an outcome in terms of optimizing the processes itself, because it is able to evaluate your as-is processes using the knowledge that it is able to get by analyzing all the data that has been lying untapped in the past. You look at your route plannings, your Swiggy's, your Zomato's, and your major companies right now into last mile delivery operations. They're able to plan their routes better. These are all the benefits of artificial intelligence today. Your truckloads plans, your pallet optimization, all these things are something which we are fairly dependent on the logistics operations teams or core logistics labor and supervisors intelligence, whether they're able to use that space properly or not. Today you have load optimization engines which are able to use AI and machine learning to build pallet load optimization in a way that it gets up to 90% efficiency, which is significantly great. And the best part, it gives you standardization in your operations. And last but not the least, let's not forget, across supply chains, one of the biggest concerns, whether it is the core manufacturer or a logistic company, one of the issues is managing demand. How do you manage the demand forecasting? How do I plan how many trucks do I need? How many and how much warehouse space will I need quarter on quarter, month on month because of seasonality effects? There's a lot of data there for the last 5 years, but how do I analyze that effectively? AI is able to help you do that as well. So these are some of the benefits, and it's all about working on the data that you've been sitting on and utilizing artificial intelligence to build those solutions for you. So these are some of the pros that I can really tell you. I mean, like, good things are there, but there are certain concerns as well, because when you talk about using AI, you're letting computers decide for you, and that means you are giving exposure and visibility to technology into your core business to a level which is almost scary, if you ask me, because if there is a cyber security threat, someone can peek into your systems very easily. So these are some risks that one needs to look at. There are other issues also that I can think of. There are skill gaps. People are still not trained on AI. Everybody knows what AI is today, but are they hands-on on it? Do they know how to use it? Those are challenges. Then if you're going to put computer vision cameras that use artificial intelligence in your warehouses or your manufacturing sites, it means security will greatly improve, surveillance will greatly improve. But one of the effects is that it will also impact, your employees in terms of reducing headcounts, and you will have to probably rotate those labor and staff into doing something better, something else which requires human intervention. So I think these are risks as well that one needs to look into. But the biggest one, of course, stays as cybersecurity. That's something we need to look at. Nevertheless, artificial intelligence will be an important thing which nobody can ignore today.
Yeah, as you rightly mentioned, I think this is absolutely altogether another discussion, talking about the head counts and the artificial intelligence, because I know this is again a different kind of debate. But yeah, you rightly said, there are obviously artificial intelligence is helpful, but obviously it comes with many other drawbacks also. Um, Also, I would throw some light here on the government policies here, Gurpreet. Do you see government
Mhm.
policies contributing significantly to the growth of this industry?
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. India government is one of the only governments which has actually recognized, that logistics is there that they need to change. Our GDP currently has a contribution of about 13% plus cost only because of logistics, and that's what makes us a bit more expensive, or rather say fairly more expensive compared to a couple of global markets where logistics is actually not more than 8 or 9% in terms of the GDP cost. Okay, and that contribution is something, if we can, fill that gap, if we can bring it down by those 3 or 4 notches from a double-digit number, if we can get to a single-digit number, which the government has taken as a target, it will have a huge impact. And you may be aware, right? The government has already started incentivizing all the startups which are investing under 100 crores. Logistics and supply chain is one sector where you're looking at maximum technology companies mushrooming right now, and they're bringing niche solutions, which are being taken left, right, center, accepted by the customers with a very, very warm arm. It is all because government is incentivizing that. You look at these multimodal logistic parks that are being set up, all these freight corridors that have been built recently, and they are continuously expanding. I think India is really investing in bringing speed to a logistics operation as a government, and that initiative is really, really vital to our growth. And you look at the fact that the logistics policy itself was announced by none other by the by no one else but the Prime Minister himself. The Gati Shakti initiative right now, one of the biggest talk of the town for the last 2 3 years, is an
Absolutely.
initiative unparalleled in anywhere in the world. If you ask me, I've not seen it anywhere globally right now. The kind of initiative that India has taken. You look at the investments. The union budget in 2017 was about, like, I think 7.7 billion. $7.7 billion was our union budget in 2017. Today's it is almost 3 times of that, close to 20 billion plus, I believe. That shows government's initiative and focus, and they're having a lot of interaction and continuous dialogue, using platforms like CII and logistics skill councils. They are constantly talking to us, and this shows that the government really wants to work with the private sector to change and transform this industry. And I think that initiative is fantastic and really appreciated.
Wonderful. My next question is, Gurpreet, I think you are the one who can actually answer it, because Tech Mahindra is somewhere quite on top when we talk about the robotics. Robotics is a buzzword among young entrepreneurs nowadays and students these days. What are the three key things a student should kept in mind, focusing on for making a career in this segment?
Good one. Good question. Okay, so three things. Hmm. So let me tell you this. Students, technology is a tool. It is a tool to transform your careers as well as an industry, which is the biggest transformation that the country has ever seen in the past. Trust me, logistics is the place to be. So know it well that technology is a tool that will help you transform. That's number one. Number two, you need to understand the business benefits of the technology, because it is just a tool. And to do that, you will have to develop an understanding of the business. So if you want to make career in robotics, and you want to bring that into the logistics and supply chain sector, you have to understand the industry first. Okay, so do you need to understand the industry, identify the problems, see where really the challenges lie, and then invest in your capabilities to build those robotics. So I'll say understand the business benefits would be the second point I can tell you. Last but not the least, data. Now our industry is one where there is tremendous amount of data sitting, but we don't know what to do with that because we have not analyzed it. A lot of that data is still, not very well sorted, clarified. There is no proper data strategy still across organizations, across the industry. And our logistic companies and organizations into manufacturing have tens and 20 years of volumes data sitting with them. So it is like a samundar, if I may put it. Data here is like a samundar. What you should focus on is how do you have a clear cut data strategy? You can build technologies that can work with data of the company. So when I say robotics, when you say robotics, don't just think about hardware and physical robots. Think about robots that can work with data, analytics related robots, okay? And then focus on AI and generative AI related technologies. Use AI and generative AI. These are going to be the change makers if you really want to, kind of manthan this samundar and take out the amrit of, of your career greatness. You will see tremendous success. Technology, treat it as a tool. Understand the business benefits and treat data like a samundar from where you're going to get your amrit out. Use these three things: data, AI, generative AI. You'll be rocking in the robotic sector.
Great, great. I think all the students, who will be watching this interview would love to, hear all this, what you just rightly said. Um, Also, okay, next question, Gurpreet, we always keep this session, as a very, one of a very important discussion in our conferences also at IWS,
Mhm.
which talks about the women workforce. So,
Mhm.
how warehousing and logistic industry, or your organization is addressing this acceptance of women workforce, in this to be, perceived raw industry, as you all know, right? So how women workforce, you if I may talk about specifically your company, how do you
Mhm.
take this women for workforce as a one of our important aspect, I should say.
Okay. See, Rima, technology industries, what Tech Mahindra does, we and our industry itself has always been a very healthy ingestion point for women workforce, because diversity was always key to the growth of the technology sector. But since we're talking an industry as logistics, I see a great amount of change there. Organizations are imbibing and focusing on certain areas. What they're doing, I see, most of our outsourcing service partners, what I'm observing, and across my industry contacts, there's a lot of weightage being given now to have certain diversity portfolio across organizations, and that is where they're trying to include more women workforce into organizations. Now, doing that, when you talk about a warehouse environment, when you talk about a trucking environment, managing a forklift, a forklift operator, you will have to create an environment which has traditionally been more male centric. So one of the things that we will have to understand is create a sense of respect and equality among your people on the ground, so that the women who come in and become part of those teams feel more secure and safe. That culture imbibing approach is very, very important. That change mindset is important. And I see a great deal of organizations working towards that. They're conducting trainings and sessions with their employees time and again to, kind of feed this into their uh, thought process that we are all equals and she can do just as well as you can as a man. Okay. So that is a change I see happening across certain areas. And if you look at e-commerce industry, that is a brilliant example. You will see women doing sorting, picking, and and the kitting process that happens in e-commerce shipments and all. You see a lot of women working in these areas. So e-commerce sector, I think, has been the front runner in this space. But if you talk about core logistics and transportation companies, I think there is still some way to go because across warehouses, if there are 200 staff working in a warehouse, in a typical warehouse of a 3PL company, I doubt there'll be more than like two or three women out there, and which would also not be a very important role. It could be probably a basic, very admin role. And I think it is also okay, to be honest, because you can't straight away jump the guns and do everything in one go. It's not just an exposure to giving them opportunities. It is also about making sure that this transition and acceptance is smooth and safe. So I think there is work happening, but to be honest, there is still some work to be done in India for sure.
Very well said, Gurpreet. Absolutely, I agree what to all your points which you just mentioned, especially in this question. Uh, Now, last but not the least, I think it's very important to talk about sustainability also, especially in India. What do you think about sustainability in business? And also, how does this impact the growth of the organization in Indian business scenario?
Interesting one and a very important one, Rima, I must say, because change is never easy. Sustainability today is that change. And if we notice, even consumer behavior is now beginning to change. And it has now
Yeah.
become a collective responsibility for all of us, the
Yeah.
organizations as well as the consumers to create a better world for our future. That's what we really need to do. Now, see, as an individual, people can have moral and ethical responsibility. But for organizations, it is a much bigger deal and a bigger influence opportunity for them because as an organization, you employ hundreds and thousands of people. Okay. And you even impact your end customers. So when you pick the right sustainability initiatives and you make sure that every employee across the organization is imbibing that, it has a huge influence because your audience is much wider. Employees which are attached with you as part of the organization, they start taking pride in the values. And if sustainability becomes a value, part of your culture, they imbibe it into themselves and through them into their families. That is what creates a culture of sustainable best practices from the boardroom to your home. That is how it happens. It's like, you sent to school to learn, to build your future. So as an organization, you can act like a school without really being, preachy, but still creating that conversation continuously with your employees, which can lead to a lot of change. And if you look at it, a lot of things are happening right now. Many organizations today are avoiding plastic packaging, right? There are so many startups that you will notice, even luxury brands today, they are coming forward and they're all saying, what are their USPs? They're saying, my USPs, I have ethical sourcing. I have biodegradable packaging. We have a CSR initiative to give back to the society. And these are the things which are actually helping them advertise better. They are being received in a very warm and welcome way by the audience, by the consumers. Investors are happy, they're ready to put in more money, and everybody's smiling because their bank is also doing well because of that. Okay, their accounts are doing well. Governments themselves are trying to incentivize right now sustainability initiatives. So what actually must happen across organizations, and which should be a combination of organizations and consumer behavior, is that we should shift from a pure price-based value system to a holistic value-based productization and marketing approach. A holistic value-based approach. That is what is really needed. And I think if you do that, all you need to do is focus on things like create those circular supply chains, where you kind of recycle or repurpose your final product, something which has already been happening in the e-waste industry, right? There are so many companies who are doing very well in the e-waste sector. Your pharma sector, again, how do you dispose of all those hazardous things, that you produce as a part of your pharmacy value chain? This is all important. So educating your customers and your employees is very important. And if you are sensitive to the cause as an organization, we can make a huge impact in the way how the global market, the global, audience looks at India.
Yeah.
If you're doing this right, and I think the initiatives are being taken, it will directly impact an increased exports, a better domestic consumption, and better revenues and margins also for the organizations eventually. But yes, it is a value-driven business model and not a
Yeah.
profit-driven business model. That change has to happen. That will establish India as a brand for exports much bigger and better than we are even now. So I think that is where
Definitely.
organizations have this role to play. That's what I can say.
Wonderful, Gurpreet. Thank you very much, for sharing your valuable insights and expertise with us today. I'm sure, your perspective on all these points were truly enlightening and will undoubtedly, benefit our audience. So we appreciate your time and we look forward to meet you at IWS again on 11th, 12th, and 13th of July at Yashobhumi Dwarka. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Rima. Just want to say it with one parting note. Logistics is the biggest contributor of emissions. In sustainability, when you talk about carbon dioxide emission, right? You heard of that. There is a
Yeah,
scope 3 emission. The scope 3 emission is the largest contributor of your carbon footprint. And that is from nowhere else but the logistics industry. So we have a huge responsibility here.
great. Great. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
Gurpreet.
much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thanks for the
Thank you.